One thing separates normal creators from the ones who actually build YouTube businesses. It's not the camera quality, it's not the editing, it's not even the hooks, although those do matter. It's the ability to notice what's really happening. I'm talking about the art of noticing. That rare skill of seeing the patterns, behaviors, and micro details that everyone else walks right past. It's what turned me from broke freelancer charging $30 from scripts into someone closing $5,000 deals. And if you're creating content that gets views but doesn't really convert into customers, you're missing this entirely. When I work with my done for you clients, I operate on 4 distinct levels of noticing. Each one builds on the last, and missing any of them is why most content gets ignored. And the last one is super important. So let me break down exactly why this matters and how you can develop this skill to transform your content from entertainment into an actual business asset. Picture this: young, desperate me, fresh out of college, thinking I could write scripts because I had good grades in English. My first client paid me $15 for what I thought was a YouTube script. I spent 6 hours on it. I mean, do the math. That's like $2.50 an hour. McDonald's was paying more. But here's what really stung. The video flopped. Like sub 100 views flopped. My amazing script that I had sweated over 4 hours was about as engaging as watching paint dry. The problem was I wasn't noticing anything. I was writing what I thought sounded good, not what actually worked. I was creating content for content's sake and not content that served a purpose. I was missing every single signal that separated viral content from virtual trash. That failure taught me something crucial. If you're not paying attention to what's actually happening in the market, in the comments, in the psychology of your audience, you're just throwing shit at the wall and hoping that it sticks. What noticing actually means in writing content for YouTube. So I'm gonna get specific here because most people think they're observing and noticing when really they're just existing. Real noticing means seeing the layers beneath the surface. So something that would be surface level. This video got 2 million views. The noticing level is this video got 2 million views because the hook created a contradiction that made people think, that can't be right. And the first 30 seconds systematically address every objection while building curiosity for the next segment. So another surface level example could be this YouTube comment got a lot of likes. But what you should actually be noticing is, and what's something I would notice is, this comment resonates because it validated a specific fear that the audience has that the creator didn't adequately address in the video. And the language pattern matches how this demographic actually talks about this problem. See the difference? Most people consume content. Noticers dissect it. So there's 4 levels of noticing that I just mentioned. Level 1, audience psychology noticing. This is where most people think they're good, but they are actually terrible. You need to notice what they say they want versus what they actually click on, the language patterns that they use when they're emotional versus logical, what they complain about in the comments versus what they celebrate, the specific objections that come up repeatedly. These become your hook material. Like your hooks will write themselves. For example, I had a business coach client who thought his audience wanted productivity tips. When I started noticing the actual language in his comments, they kept saying things like, I feel I'm behind everyone else and I don't know if I'm cut out for this. The real desire wasn't productivity. It was validation and proof that they weren't fundamentally broken. That insight changed everything. We pivoted his content to address that deeper fear and his conversion rate tripled. Level 2, story structure noticing. This is where script writing becomes a superpower. Most creators think that story structure is just beginning, middle, end. Nah bro, real story structure noticing means understanding the hero's journey patterns that actually work on YouTube. How successful creators position their audience as the hero, not themselves. Which transformation moments create the strongest emotional investment. And how to build tension without losing viewers to impatience, when to deliver payoffs versus when to extend curiosity. Now, the other thing I want you to understand is the setup, tension, resolution loops. How often successful videos cycle through this pattern. And here's a hint, it's way more than you think. Which types of tension work for different audiences and how to stack multiple tension loops without overwhelming your viewers. I noticed that most educational content fails because creators deliver the resolution too early. They're so eager to provide value that they kill the curiosity that keeps people watching. Entertainment content usually fails for the opposite reason. They build tension but never deliver satisfying payoffs. This brings us to level 3, conversion psychology noticing. This is where content becomes story selling. My favorite thing. Most creators optimize for vanity metrics, views, likes, comments, but I notice different things. Which moments in successful videos drive viewers to take action? How top creators embed social proof without being salesy. I mean, think Iman Gadzhi, think Alex Hormozi. These are like the best examples out there. The specific language patterns that create buying intent. How successful creators use their personal story to build authority for their offer. For instance, I noticed that when creators share vulnerability moments that directly relate to the problem their product solves, conversion rates spike. But generic vulnerability actually hurts conversions because it makes you seem unprofessional. The difference is intentional vulnerability versus oversharing. One builds trust and authority, the other kills it. This brings us to level 4. This is the advanced level. Meta pattern noticing. This is noticing the patterns in the patterns. Why certain hooks work across multiple niches, how audience sophistication affects which psychological triggers you can use, the relationship between content format and conversion potential, which elements of successful content are evergreen versus trend dependent. For example, I've noticed that contradiction hooks, like why I stopped doing X after making millions from X, work incredibly well for audiences that consider themselves intermediate to advanced, but they backfire with beginners who need validation, not disruption. This level of noticing lets you adapt strategies across different markets instead of just copying what works for someone else. So, this brings me to the noticeability framework. How do you actually develop this skill? Enough theory, let's do this. N, note everything. Start a notice document. That's what I call mine. You can call yours whatever. Every time you consume content, any content, YouTube, emails, ads, social posts, write down these 4 things. What made you stop scrolling? What made you keep watching/reading? What made you feel something, good or bad? And 4, what made you take action or consider it? Do this for 50 pieces of content. You'll start seeing patterns that you never noticed before. Oh, observe audience reactions. Read every comment on your own content and competitor content. But don't just read them, categorize them. Questions, what they want to know more about. Objections, what they disagree with or doubt. Emotions, how the content made them feel. Actions, what they say they're gonna do. This gives you a direct line into your audience's psychology. T, test micro variations. Change one element at a time and notice what happens. Same content, different hook. Same hook, different thumbnail. Same video, different CTA. Small changes reveal big insights about what actually drives behavior. I, identify core patterns. After 30 days of doing everything I just told you, look for which emotions drive the most engagement in your niche, which story structures keep people watching the longest, which CTAs actually get clicked, and which types of content gets shared versus just viewed. C, create a hypothesis. Based on your observation, form specific hypotheses. I think my audience responds better to vulnerability hooks because they feel like imposters. Or I think lifestyle content converts better because my audience is overwhelmed by too many options. It could be anything. So do this. Form specific hypothesis. E, execute and measure. Test your hypothesis systematically, one at a time, and measure everything. The goal isn't to be right. It's to get better at noticing what actually works. Here's the biggest thing that most creators miss, and it's costing them everything. Your audience doesn't want your content. They want the feeling your content promises. I'll say that again. Your audience doesn't want your content. They want the feeling your content promises. They don't subscribe for productivity tips. They subscribe for the feeling of being someone who has their shit together. They don't watch business advice videos. They watch them for the feeling of being someone who's going to succeed. They don't buy your course because of the curriculum or because you have fancy edited videos. They buy it for the feeling of being the type of person who invests in themselves. This is why most content fails to convert. You're optimizing for surface level engagement instead of emotional transformation. When I analyze scripts that convert versus scripts that don't, the difference is always the same. Converting scripts make the viewer feel like they're already becoming the person they want to be. Non-converting scripts just provide information. So, how this changes everything about your content strategy. Once you start noticing at this level, everything shifts. Your hooks stop being attention grabbing and start being identity confirming. Instead of 3 productivity hacks that will change your life, you write how I went from feeling constantly behind to having people ask, how the fuck do you get so much done? Your content stops being valuable and starts being transformational. Instead of listing tips, you tell stories that helps viewers see themselves differently. Your CTS stop being please subscribe and start being here's your next step in this journey. You're not asking for a follow. You're offering continued transformation. Your entire channel becomes a systematic journey instead of random valuable content. And this is how I use this for my clients. When I take on a done for you client, this is exactly what I do. Phase 1, deep noticing audit. I analyze their existing content through all 4 levels. I study their audience psychology across every platform: YouTube, Insta, LinkedIn, Twitter, anywhere, even their emails. I identify the gap between what they're creating and what actually converts. Phase 2, story asset development. I find the stories in their background that serve their audience's transformation. I map their personal journey to their audience's desired journey. I create a content strategy that systematically moves viewers from skeptic to buyer. Phase 3, systematic implementation. YouTube scripts that build authority and drive conversions, email sequences that nurture the relationship, and social content that reinforces the transformation. The result is content that doesn't just get views, content that actually builds businesses. So here's your next step. Stop creating, start noticing. Look, I could keep going on for another hour about this, and I probably will in future videos, but here's what I want you to do right now. Pick one successful video in your niche, not your own, someone else's. Watch it with the noticeability framework. Don't just watch it, dissect it. What specific words did they use in the first 10 seconds? How did they structure the story to keep you watching? What emotions did you feel and when? What would you have done differently? What made you want to or not want to take their CTA? Do this with 10 videos over the next week. I guarantee you will notice things that you've never seen before, and those insights will transform your content faster than any editing tutorial, script writing course, YouTube strategy course, or the best camera equipment or best PC will ever do. Because at the end of the day, great content isn't about having the best equipment or the most followers. It's about noticing what your audience really needs and serving that need better than anyone else. And once you master the art of noticing, everything else becomes easier. Your hooks write themselves because you know exactly what creates curiosity for your specific audience. Your stories flow naturally because you understand the transformation your viewer needs to experience. Your CTAs convert because you're not asking for a random action. You're actually offering them the next logical step in their journey. This is how you turn content creation from a hope and pray strategy into a predictable business system. This is how you go from content for views to content for revenue. This is story selling.